What we'll do is just run through a few general things first. If anyone wants the toilets, they're just out here, straight up the corridor. Ladies are first on the right and gents are a little bit further on the right. So what we'll do, we're going to start off with Patrick, who's going to talk to us, has agreed to come over and share his wealth of knowledge. What I'll do, I'll just run through who Patrick is, and what he's done for the last 30 odd years. So this is taken from the What Doctors Don't Tell You magazine. So big welcome to Patrick. He's a specialist in nutritional and environmental medicine for 25 years, focused on treating the incurables, especially those with cancer and multiple sclerosis, through a holistic approach involving diet, supplements and general lifestyle overhaul. Patrick is now retired, writing about his successful treatment regimes. And Patrick's authored numerous books, including the latest one, The New Medicine, which Patrick has on sale today, so we maybe pick up a copy of that as well. And he's kindly come here to share his wealth of experience. And what we'll do, after Patrick's finished, we've got a gentleman, Aaron, from Zymo Foods, who will have a chat with you about fermented foods and the highly beneficial ways that they can help people with disease, creating a good gut flora and helping to boost the immune system. So then we'll stop for a break for about 15-20 minutes, and then suddenly you've got me just to talk to you about Sue's experience of where we were, where we are now, and the principles of how we got there with Sue not having cancer anymore. So that's going to be the basic gist of the evening. Good evening. I'll just explain to you what the meeting isn't. This is information for you. We're not giving specific advice. This is what we did when my wife was faced with cancer. So we have to be very careful how we put things, and so don't take it that this is specific advice as such. We have to be really careful. So that's that. It's basically, we're here to encourage people to learn, to give hope and inspire people, which I hope we'll do. So, I mean, really, we're just looking to take responsibility of our own health. You know, we have doctors that, by and large, many do a great job, and that's fine. This is not a knock at doctors. But if you look at things realistically, are they addressing core issues as to why people get the disease, or are they just treating symptoms? That's for you to decide. And I have my own opinion on that, based on a lot of knowledge. So what we'll do, we'll pass over to Patrick, and if you want to, Patrick.
Right, can you all hear me in the back? Yes. Can you just put up your hand if you can definitely hear me? Good, that's fine. Right. I'm a medically qualified doctor. When I first qualified, I went out to Barbados. I got 1 night's sleep in 4, literally 1 night's sleep in 4. And I learned a lot. And one of the things that people kept saying to me was, why? Why did I develop cancer? Why did I develop arthritis? Why did I develop asthma? And I didn't know the answer, because I wasn't taught the reasons why. So I spent a lot of my time thinking about this question. But it was not until many years later, and it was a number of years later, over 10 years later, that I went into general practice, and then followed a nutritional environmental approach. So for the last 25 years of my practicing life, I did not prescribe a single drug. It's not necessary. I saw over 9,000 patients with multiple sclerosis, thousands with cancer, each person wanting to find out what the cause of their problem is. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about. Now, you can take notes if you want to, but every single thing I'm going to say is in the book, and I've got copies of the book here. If I haven't got enough of them, then I will send them to you, so don't worry about it. And if at any stage my voice drops and you can't hear, please make sure you let me know, because I hate it if people can't hear what I'm saying. Now, most people go to their doctor and say, "Doctor, I have a problem. Will you please fix it for me?" That's what you do. You go to the doctor. I've got a problem. But that is not what you should do. You should go to say, "Doctor, I have a problem. What can I do to help myself?" People don't do that, but you should do that. But the doctor won't have any answer for your problems. He won't know what he can do. Many people are happy with whatever he decides to recommend, and there's no question about that. It's the way to do things. It's the modern way. It's scientific. You have a problem, your doctor knows how to solve it for you. Your doctor knows which drugs are needed for certain problems, because a drug company has done the studies and said it works that way. I'm sorry, that is absolute rubbish. Absolute utter nonsense. I worked for a pharmaceutical company for 8 years, so you might say I'm a poacher turned greenkeeper. So I understand what the problems are. They do studies which are done by the company. All the studies are done by the company money. You set up a plan, you decide how many people you're going to test them on, and if it works out too quickly, you stop it and you publish it. If it doesn't quite work out when you want it to, you extend it until it does work out. If it still doesn't work out, you ban it. You banish it completely. So it's all done for your sake, your company's sake. And the standard approach to cancer is what we call cut, burn, and poison. That's what they do to you. That's the modern approach. And that's fine by me if you want to, and I will tell you what to do if you choose to do that, because it is not my job to tell you whether to have chemotherapy and or radiotherapy or not. That is your decision you have to make. The problem with cut, burn, and poison approach is that it does not explain why cancer developed in the first instance. And that is what is so important as far as I'm concerned. Why? Why does it develop? When does it develop? Because cancer can start developing at least 15 years before it declares itself. 15 years. So you must have been doing something, or something must have been doing something to you. Because cancer is not something from outer space, as far as I'm aware. It is something that exists in this world, in your body, something you do yourself. I'm producing cancer cells all the time. Every second of my body, I'm producing cancer cells. But my immune system gobbles it all up and deals with it. And it is absolutely natural, because there are millions of cells I'm producing every second of my life. And it's not surprising if the occasional cell goes wrong. But my immune system looks after it. So that's what I want to talk to you about, the why. Now first, some facts about cancer. Cancer is a whole body condition. Don't think it's just one thing. Don't think if you've got cancer in your left breast, it's cancer in your left breast, that's it. It's throughout your body. There are blood tests that they can tell that you've got cancer. Therefore, it's throughout the whole of your body. By the time a lump or symptom suggesting cancer has developed, it could have been there for 5, 10, or even 15 years. And gradually it develops. It's multifactorial. It nearly always at least 5 causes. If there are 5, could one be 80% of the problem, and the other 4, 20% between them? Or are they all 20% each? I have no idea, and you can work this out for yourself. This approach is totally different from mainstream medicine. Mainstream medicine says, we've got to get rid of the cancer from your body. And they can't do so. They can't do it, because they they aim for just the little part of your body. Because if you have cancer in your left breast, they're only interested in your left breast. They're not interested in your right breast, your high blood pressure, your constipation, or your headaches. In fact, you might say that your left breast becomes the most important aspect, and your right breast may become a little bit more jealous of your left breast. But maybe not, I don't know. Yet everything links together, because the breast is not simply a breast, it's linked to your hormones. You have estrogen receptors in every organ of your body, and that's what makes you a woman. It's perfectly natural. And you'd be surprised that many produce estrogen, and that's something which takes people by surprise. And women produce testosterone. Oh yes, we all do that. Medicine recognizes certain causes of cancer: radiation and chemotherapy, smoking and asbestos, excess estrogen. Oh yes, excess estrogen. The human papillomavirus, Helicobacter pylori, acrylamide, benzene, alcohol. These are all well-known causes of cancer. But do they ever do anything about it? They may ask you to stop smoking, but they don't tell you to stop smoking. They tell you, if you do not stop smoking, you will never get rid of your lung cancer. Yes, so they're only treating the cancer with cut, burn and poison. Yeah, they keep saying, we've got to get rid of the cancer in your body. That's what they keep saying. And they often may do an operation saying, we got it all. Absolute rubbish. They did not get it all. They may have got 99.9%, but not all. But first, let's look at what cancer is, how it develops, where things go wrong in the body, and what a cancerous lump is. It is generally recognized that chemotherapy and radiotherapy can kill cancer cells because they are rapidly dividing primitive cells. A tumor the size of the lead sticking out of a pencil would have 1 million cancer cells in it. You think that's a lot? Well, they're tiny little things, but 1 million cancer cells in it. But if a tumor is 2 centimeters in size, it would have approximately 10 billion cancer cells. I don't care whether it's an American or an English billion. There are lots of cells. If your oncologist is lucky, he may kill 99.9% of your cancer cells. But 0.1% is still a lot of cancer cells, and they tend to be the more resistant ones. So 0.1% is a lot of cancer cells of 10 billion. But they also kill your hair follicles. That's chemotherapy and radiotherapy. Your hair follicles, damage your intestines, your immune system, because the cells there also divide rapidly. And it is now well recognized that chemotherapy and radiotherapy can cause cancer. If a woman is given radiotherapy for Hodgkin's disease when she's in her late teens or early 20s, it is established that she may well develop breast cancer later on. It is well known that the radiotherapy will give her cancer. Do they do anything about it? Oh no, no. They just say, we'll keep an eye on you and we'll remove your breast if it happens. And mammograms use radiation. I used to say to any woman, if a man tells a woman to have a mammogram, tell him to have his bollocks squashed in the machine. It always brings a laugh to people, but it's a fact. Would a man be prepared to put his bollocks in there? I don't think so. And yet they are very painful things, and they are not necessarily very effective either. And in fact, the Professor Michael Bourne, B-A-U-M, who originally started the whole idea of scams in this country, is now desperately trying to get them stopped. Because he says the trouble that they cause is much greater than the actual advantages of the mammogram. What is basically important is that you have a thermoscan, but unfortunately you have to pay for that. They originally tested the thermoscan against the mammogram and thought it was not working properly. What they didn't realize was he was 10 years ahead of the mammogram. 10 years ahead. So now there's this huge, enormous business mammogram business. And of course they want you to keep going because they want to keep selling the machines. As I said, apart from the damaging effect that mammograms, the actual operation, has on the breast itself. And if you've got a tumour inside your breast and they squash it, what the hell's that going to do to the tumour inside you? It's going to cause it to spread. So I'm afraid anything of that sort is a no-no as far as I'm concerned. In fact, there is a group of cells that grow even more rapidly than cancer cells, the cells that form the afterbirth. The afterbirth. Some of the first few cells form what's called the trophoblast, and that attaches to the inner lining of the uterus and burrows into the wall and starts growing new blood vessels. New blood vessels? Isn't that what cancer cells do? It grows in and it causes the blood vessels to grow. In this respect, the trophoblast is similar to cancer. There's a couple of seats in the front here if you want to come and sit in front. And there's one over there. And a few more chairs, so come. You haven't missed the best bit yet. So we're getting a few more chairs over there. The trophoblast is primitive, it's undifferentiated, that means it's not yet decided what it's going to be. It's invasive, it's migratory, it's angiogenic, and it divides rapidly. So the first few cells of the fetus are very, very similar to cancer cells. And that's exactly how Dr. John Beard described the whole process. He was an English embryologist around 1900, how he described cancer cells. But he wasn't medically qualified. And surprise, surprise, the medical profession takes no notice of him. It is ridiculous. There are so many scientists and so many people with intelligent brains who can tell the medical profession, or even vets, they take no notice of, for goodness sake. We doctors are really clever people. We know it all. But the trophoblast cannot go on growing at the initial fast rate, or it will result in an extremely dangerous thing called a chorionic adenocarcinoma. It's the most lethal type of cancer, and I have never in my life even seen one. They're that rare. This goes on growing and growing because the trophoblast does not stop growing. And the reason why is because at day 56, the newly developing pancreas and the maternal pancreas combine forces and produce a huge output of digestive enzymes that slow this rapid cellular growth down to a normal rate. That's amazing when you think about it. And that's what the body does. And you've got no idea that's going on. It's happening, but no idea that's going on all the time. In fact, digestive enzymes serve another important purpose because they break down the mucus protein coating that cancer tumours put around themselves to hide from your immune system. Oh, crumbs. They hide from your immune system. So you've got to break down that mucus protein coating so that your immune system can find them. Your immune system, half the time, doesn't even know you've got cancer. And let's face it, how good is your immune system in the first instance? So digestive enzymes are an important part of cancer management. And as they are anti-inflammatory, and they slow cellular growth rate down to normal. So think about that one. What's this about inflammation? Inflammation and cancer? Oh my goodness, this is now, we are becoming scientific, but it's now well established that cancer is involving inflammation. And Dr. Beard suggested that the trophoblast left nests of primitive cells throughout the body to act as stem cells. I cannot grow a nose on the end of my finger. Don't know how to do it. I can't grow a finger on the end of my nose. So the cells that are the stem cells on my nose, on my finger, are designed to only grow a finger cell or a nose cell where they're supposed to. That's all they're supposed to do. There's something magic about stem cells. And of course there's a huge amount of research going on into stem cells. And it will become more and more important as time goes on. Dr. Beard believed that inflammation in some way started those trophoblastic cells divided, but still, but without the usual controlling factors because they were inflamed. And that makes logical sense to me. Why, what, and how? What caused the inflammation to occur? So remember the inflammation. And that was as long ago as 1900 that Dr. Beard suggested that inflammation plays a part in cancer. And it is now known to play a part in cancer. They don't give you any anti-inflammatory drugs for it, not yet. They'll get round to that in due course, because drugs sell, and they make money. Mainstream medicine believes that normal cells of an organ, of a breast or whatever part it is, start to become cancerous because a trained eye can recognize the tissue in which the cancer is growing. A sample is taken, they look at it under a microscope, they can see it's a kidney or a breast or a prostate, and they can say, therefore, the cells of that tissue have become cancerous. I don't believe that. I think it's the stem cells in that organ that become cancerous, and it's caused by the inflammation. If, however, the trophoblastic stem cells keep growing in an uncontrolled way, they will remain undifferentiated. And the word undifferentiated simply means they haven't been converted into the normal cells. The stem cells remain undifferentiated. That's a medical term, meaning they've not changed. They will be of no value to the body because they do not function as normal cells. They're still stem cells. They're not of the cells. They're not a finger cell. They're not a nose cell. So a lump is formed, but of no value to the body. No value at all. And that is quite simply what a cancerous tumour is. It's a lump in your body of no value to your body whatsoever. Now, let's get down to the crucial, the important. What causes the inflammation? Can you still hear me at the back? Good. What causes the inflammation? Well, basically, anything that is not good for you, often associated with lack of essential nutrients. Life itself is inflammatory. We all know that. You know, we have stresses, all sorts of problems. And so life is inflammatory. And vitamin D is anti-inflammatory. The recommended daily allowance for vitamin D in this country is 400 international units. I'm sorry, it should be 10 times that. We should all be taking at least 4,000 international units daily. I'll come on to that if necessary at a later stage. But how they ever decided that 400 international units was the right dose, I don't know. Do you know how they decided that vitamin C, the recommended daily allowance for vitamin C, was 16 milligrams? They took some so-called healthy medical students and fed them with a certain amount and decided how much they needed to prevent them developing scurvy, for God's sake. What's the difference between developing scurvy and health? A huge amount, at least 10 times. So the vast majority of cancers probably begin with a poor, incorrect, or inflammatory diet. That doesn't mean to say that everybody with such a diet will automatically develop cancer. It's not like that. Life isn't like that. It doesn't happen that easily. Not everybody who smokes develops lung cancer. It isn't a fact at all. But a poor diet starts a process of gentle inflammation in the body and lowers your level of essential nutrients, your vitamins and your minerals, and impinges upon your immune system. By a poor diet, I mean a diet with poor levels of nutrients or one with nutrients the body cannot use. And I'll come on to that at a later stage. Most humans start life with something inflammatory. What do most humans start with? Milk, for God's sake. Milk is one of the most damaging inflammatory products in the world. And there's usually some sugar in it. And I'll come on to that at a later stage. Animal milk is designed entirely for cows, not for humans. There's no creature on God's earth that has milk after weaning. Think about it. Milk is designed to create an animal with big horns and a little brain. not the human brain. So think about that. It immediately gives, I must admit. Lower levels of essential nutrients lead to a less than effective immune system. People have coughs and colds all the time. I haven't had an infection for as long as I can remember. I have no idea when the last time was that I had one. And so the problem begins. It starts in childhood with having milk. And most babies have milk. A lowered immune system allows infections to invade the body. And I can assure you there's some very nasty organisms in the environment. Dairy products cause a lot of childhood infections. The number of times I saw a kid with all sorts of problems, tonsillitis, sore throats, time off school, and I said, get out of the milk. Can't stand the milk. Can't stand it. What do you put on your cornflakes? Oh, I put it on my cornflakes. They haven't thought through that their body is telling them, please, I don't want milk. In fact, a lot of kids got into trouble for not drinking the milk. They got into trouble. And yet they were the ones who were common sense. 75% of the world's population has a milk intolerance because of a lactase deficiency. And if you have any kids that have a problem with tonsillitis or problems of that sort, get them off the milk and they will not have them anymore. And the chances are that you, or a child, will be given an antibiotic for any infection, even if it's a virus, because the doctor won't know that, just in case. Out of interest, how many people here in this audience have never in their whole lives ever had an antibiotic? My God, you must be the first gentleman I've ever come across. And
I've not had an oral one. I had somebody in a
well, I have never had an antibiotic in my whole life, and neither has my wife. So that's virtually 150 years of no antibiotics. And yet everybody else has had them because it's normal. Your doctor gives you antibiotics. And every woman knows that antibiotics can cause thrush to develop. It happens. But why has it developed in your vagina when all you did was swallow the antibiotic? It gives you food for thought, that does. The fungus must therefore be throughout the whole of your intestines. And that's nearly 20 odd feet, well, it's more than 20 odd feet. So the chances are that it escapes at some particular stage into your bloodstream. And you simply declare it in your vagina. Yes, you may have some variety of abnormal symptoms in your bowel, but basically that's what it's about. And Dr. Tullio Simoncini, an Italian oncologist, has written a book entitled Cancer is a Fungus. Wow, that's quite something. And of course he got thrown off the Italian Medical Register for doing so, because it's not what people wanted him to say. But I think he could well be right. And there's a very interesting correlation between the rise in the incidence of cancer and the use, and some people might say abuse, of antibiotics. It can sometimes take decades to come and recognize these connections. Because sugar is the natural food for cancer, and it's also the natural food for fungi. Now I find that's very interesting. Really interesting. Suzanne Summers. Anybody heard of Suzanne Summers? Yeah. A very famous Hollywood starlet. She wrote a book entitled Knockout. She was diagnosed with whole body cancer by 7. Oh God, 7! Good Lord. Most of us only have 1, but she had 7 on scans. And one of them said it was the most extensive cancer I have ever seen, said the chief oncologist. But she was offered whole body chemotherapy, but her daughter, who was not medically qualified, came home and said, I don't believe it. You're far too fit, you're doing all this, that, and other, producing videos about good health, etc. And she decided that it could not be cancer, but it might be something else. When Suzanne was reviewed, it was decided she had valley fever, instead of, which is a form of fungal infection, which is fairly common in certain parts of America. So again, another interesting connection between cancer and funguses and, I believe, antibiotics. So I wonder how many people have a fungal infection rather than cancer. It really is quite fascinating to think about these possibilities. So if that is the case, what makes anyone think that chemotherapy will destroy fungus? It's not logical to me, but that's the way they think. All animal products are inflammatory. Professor Jane Plant, have you all read her book? Wonderful book called Your Life in Your Hands. She advises everyone with breast and prostate cancer to give up dairy products entirely. She constantly went off to China, and she couldn't understand why her cancer used to disappear there. Came back, came back. Went to China, came back. She suddenly said, good Lord, they don't have milk in China. They don't have animal milk products in China. And she suddenly realized it. Trouble is, in her book, she has some recipes which she uses sugar, so she shouldn't do so. And I think that all applies to all cancers, in my opinion. All cancers should avoid all animal milk and animal milk products, and of course all sugar and all carbohydrates of that sort. Now, free iron is also a natural food for cancer cells. So you don't want too much free iron floating around your body. Iron is normally carried in the bloodstream, attached to proteins such as ferritin and transferrin. But free iron is inflammatory, and alcohol and excess estrogen once again, release iron from these proteins. All chemical additives strip your body of essential minerals and vitamins, which lowers the effectiveness of your immune system. So once again, we're coming back to the quality of your immune system. And most of what people eat produces an acid ash, such as grains, dairy products, meat and fish, sugar, cola-type drinks. So we don't eat nearly enough fruit and vegetables. The alkaline forming foods are fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, salad items. They're lovely. You can eat them all the time, but most people don't do so. Our bodies work best in a slightly alkaline environment with a pH of 7.36. Don't need to worry about that too much. It's just a chemical number. But if the pH is a bit lower than 7.36, then we don't absorb and utilize minerals as well as we should do. And if our diet is more on the acid side of it, then that will occur. Normal cells thrive in a slightly alkaline environment of 7.36 and thereabouts. But cancer cells thrive in a relatively acid environment. So you can see why changing over to more and more of the alkaline forming foods is very important. A comparatively acid pH tends to lack oxygen. And we know that cancer cells grow well in a low oxygen environment, as do fungi. There's plenty of oxygen at the correct slightly alkaline pH of 7.36, and cancer cells cannot grow where there is oxygen. This has been well known for years, but mainstream medicine doesn't take any notice of it. And that's why exercise is good for someone with cancer, especially with oxygen. So because you should get out and about and do all the good things the things that are good for you. Infections are common in cancer patients, largely because their immune system is not very efficient. Professor Jerry Potter from Leicester has identified salvestrol, chemicals all fruit and vegetables naturally produce to protect themselves from fungal attack. Fungal again. But if fruits and vegetables are sprayed with antifungal chemicals, they don't produce salvestrols. And salvestrols are protective against cancer. So you want to have organic foods if at all possible. And Dr. Brzezinski in America has shown that cancer patients lack essential cancer-protecting peptides called antineoplastins. And tumours often disappear when antineoplastins are given to patients. But the FDA in America are being horrible to him and keeping him under wraps very hard. As I've already said, cancer tumours coat themselves in a mucus protein coating to hide from the immune system. So that's not very sensible. Then there's the emotions. Oh Lord, the emotions. Oh my God. The number of people I see with cancer who have had an emotional problem of some sort a few years or so before their cancer declared itself. Not developed, declared itself. I've already said that. Dr. Frieda, an American doctor who died recently, explained that people develop cancer because their adrenal glands are exhausted by stress. Adrenal exhaustion also suppresses your immune system. If you have a slowly growing tumour and suffer stress of any sort, the tumour starts to grow faster, and that's when it declares itself. It may have been tiny before, and it may have been there, you may have taken notice of it, but now it's growing and it becomes more obvious. And that is to say, when cancer declares itself. When people are under stress, they tend to let their diet slip. They eat what is convenient. Stress strips your body of nutrients at a time when you should increase your nutrients, but unfortunately, that's when it goes down. Stress makes your body become more acidic, as do chemotherapy and radiotherapy. We produce free radicals every second of our lives. Most of us do not have enough antioxidants to quench those free radicals. So we're building up more and more damage. And that's largely because our diet is inadequate. Unfortunately, chemotherapy and radiotherapy produce a lot of free radicals, and you are not given antioxidants to deal with them. They think that will actually stop the chemotherapy working. In fact, exactly the opposite is the case. And there are 150 studies in published medical journals which say you should take antioxidants with chemotherapy and radiotherapy. 180, beg your pardon. I should have exaggerated. Antioxidants attack cancer cells weakened by the chemotherapy and radiotherapy, and they also protect your normal cells. So if you are going to have chemotherapy or radiotherapy, just don't tell specialists. Just take it and ignore his advice, because he does not know the literature. And then there's a thing called geopathic stress. Does anybody know what geopathic stress is about? Not many people do. There's a book called Are You Sleeping in a Safe Place by Rolf Gordon. It's to do with stress lines coming up through the ground. People have heard of radon gas, but their house or their bedroom may have a stress line coming through it. So you need to find out, get a copy of the book, it's not expensive, from Rolf Gordon, and you'll find it will explain it beautifully, better than I can. Heavy metals like mercury. How many people in this room have got mercury fillings in their teeth? Yes, yes. I had 16. I had every single one of them replaced when I learnt about it. I'm not sure that it did me any good, but it said it didn't do me any harm. But mercury, aluminium, lead, cadmium, they squander vitamin C, selenium and zinc, and they also suppress your immune system. So if you've got mercury fillings in your teeth, I'm afraid they're not good for you. And zinc is particularly important if you're a man and you have prostate gland problem. Zinc is very important, and the mercury unfortunately squanders that. And if you have a fungus, it can be difficult to eradicate while you keep swallowing mercury from your teeth, because you are doing so all the time, a little bit. So you need to get rid of it. And finally, stress is so important, it underlines all that goes wrong. So you need to look after yourself if you do have stress. And think logically. Think for yourself. Think about your whole life story. One treatment for prostate cancer is chemical castration. Chemical castration. A drug that reduces the level of testosterone. If testosterone is the big baddie, why do men develop cancer in their prostate when their levels of testosterone are presumably falling as they're getting older? Why doesn't your 20-year-old Randy Buck get it instead? There's something wrong with their thought. It's not the testosterone that's causing the problem, it's the first breakdown product called dihydrotestosterone. The answer is because too much testosterone has been converted to dihydrotestosterone. In fact, when laboratories technicians took prostate cancer cells, one of the best ways of killing it was testosterone, but not dihydrotestosterone. So you need to stop the conversion of testosterone to dihydrotestosterone. But why do people produce more conversion product as they get older? I've said that. Testosterone is not the big baddie, it's dihydrotestosterone. It's estrogen. It's estrogen once again. You see men walking around with fat bellies. Those bellies produce estrogen. Apart from all the estrogen in the environment, and the pesticides, the chemicals, the pesticides, all of these chemicals in our environment. Estrogen, I've got a book which was produced, which showed me that estrogen is the big killer for cancer. So why does estrogen promote cancer? It causes testosterone to be converted into dihydrotestosterone. It causes intracellular hypoxia, that means lack of oxygen, and it causes copper retention and zinc loss. So you're losing the zinc and you're getting more copper, which you don't want. And what symptoms do women suffer from who develop breast cancer? Premenstrual breast symptoms, most of the time. It's all there. These are the precursors of it. And a lymphoma. Excuse me, what are lymph glands for? If you have a toothache, you develop a lymph gland up here. If you have a cut, you develop a lymph gland. Infections. It just means that your immune system has not dealt with the infection that you picked up. So they become bigger and bigger. So they give you chemotherapy, for goodness sake, or radiotherapy. You should have something for the infection, something to boost your immune system. Oh no. So we say, what are glands for? They deal with infections. Oh, for Kyle, if a child bleeds into a joint with leukemia, bleed, blood, what does that suggest to you? Vitamin C deficiency causing acute scurvy. That's what sailors are to die from bleeding. So they should give vitamin C first thing, not chemotherapy, vitamin C. But do they? Oh. Vitamin C deficiency. So let's summarize why cancer develops. Diet containing milk products, which is inflammatory. Sugar is normal for most people in their diet. Most people eat rubbish, they don't eat nearly enough fruit and vegetables, so diminishing their nutrient intake, their immune system is affected. Apart from their reaction to milk, they become infected, they prescribe an antibiotic, they develop a fungal infection, they continue to eat sugar or eat more of it, because they develop a sweet tooth, because the fungus is claiming it's sugar. They develop tooth decay, they have mercury fillings inserted in their teeth, this squanders vitamin C, selenium and zinc, and that affects their immune system further. The seeds of cancer tumour are laid down. More infections, more antibiotics, more fungal infections. It's all there. You can see it developing. If you look back into your lives, you'll see the mistakes you've made. And then if you add alcohol and cigarettes, that's a big additional substance. I really said that. And think of the myriad chemicals we're exposed to in our lives. All the time. Whatever it is, we're there. There's an advertisement at present which annoys me. It says, man is programmed to need underarm deodorants, for God's sake. Man is programmed to need underarm deodorants. I've never had an underarm deodorant in my life. What makes you think I'm programmed for it? Many strip your body of essential nutrients. They are certainly inflammatory, and they may even be carcinogenic themselves. But you don't increase your antioxidant intake when you're exposed to it, because half the time you don't even know you're exposed to it. If you're a woman, your diet may allow you to develop premenstrual symptoms. You therefore have a hormonal imbalance with too much estrogen and not enough progesterone. So all you've got to do is change your diet. You'll be surprised how often that will change. So that predisposes you to breast cancer. And if you're a man, too much estrogen predisposes you to prostate cancer. You can see it all. It's all logical. And then, as I say, there are the xenoestrogens, the chemical in our environment that we're not even aware of. And you may become vitamin D deficient. So, I mean, if the sun's out, where are you? You're indoors, and if you're not, if you're outside, you're in clothes. I'm fortunate, I get enough vitamin D because I sunbathe almost every day during the summer. Almost every day. And I take vitamin D in the winter. And because of a poor immune system, you may pick up infections, some of which themselves promote cancer, whether it's Helicobacter pylori or any of these. Surely that's what a lymphoma is all about. It's about an infection that your immune system has not been able to deal with. And you may live in a mouldy house or be exposed to geopathic stress. These are all things you need to look for in your lives. Remember, excess estrogen and alcohol create free iron, which cancer cells feed on. Most of the bad things in life create acidity and produce free radicals. Thank you, Karen. Do you have enough antioxidants to deal with those free radicals? The chances are you don't, because you don't have a good enough diet. And remember, cancer cells thrive in an acid environment. They do well in a comparatively low oxygen environment. We tend to eat chemically modified food or food that has had food and chemicals added to it. We tend to eat a diet lacking in digestive enzymes. So we cannot stop a tumour enclosing itself in a mucous protein coating. Can't do it. And then a big stress hits us, and we've had it. That's it. Our immune system takes a big tumble because of the adrenal stress. Cancer, which has been growing slowly, soon declares itself. So how do we deal with cancer? It's all there. You simply undo all the things that you've been making mistakes of. Go through all of these things, but there's all there. You can find the things I've been talking about. It's all in the book. Start by changing your eating habits. If you're overweight, go on a 5-day fast or something similar. Because some people lose a stone, 14 pounds. I know. My record is 21 pounds weight loss in 5 days. Not mine personally, but a patient. Not mine. I've never been that way. If you're overweight, okay, just change your diet. Start by avoiding all animal milks, all products, all beef, all sugar, white refined flour products, all caffeine, all alcohol. That's going to be quite a strain for a lot of people, a lot of cream, because there's an awful lot of caffeine in chocolate, in tea, and coffee, and in cola drinks. People don't realise that. And take Juice Plus. Who's heard of Juice Plus? A few people. Look at the studies. There are 36 studies on Juice Plus. I've never come across anything that has got so many different nutrients and different approaches to the human physiology. It even improves your DNA status. Taking Juice Plus means you significantly increase your fruit and juice, fruit and vegetable intake. If you take the 6 capsules, you get the valuable ingredients from 26 fruits, vegetables, berries and grapes. You couldn't eat that in a day. With all the water, the sugar, the fibre taken out. So, as far as I'm concerned, they're extremely valuable. So that will make your diet more alkaline. So follow the Juice Plus principle, eat more fruits and vegetables. If you don't take the Juice Plus, that's fine. But eat more fruits and vegetables. This is an interesting slide. I'll just put it in quickly. That's an apple, believe it or not. That is 400 of the 10,000 chemicals found in an apple. 110,000 now. And these are called phytonutrients. They're lovely names. Aren't they lovely names? Anthocyanidins, flavonoids, lycopenes, polyphenols, quercetin, sulforaphane, zeaxanthins. Aren't they lovely names? I love them. And they are all in that apple. And if you take the Juice Plus of 26 fruits and vegetables, you'll get 260,000 phytonutrients, all acting in concert, doing their own little bit and piece all the time. And they're very valuable in that respect. They're very good for your immune system. So if a tumour is developing, it hides from your immune system by wrapping itself in a mucus protein coating. And because of your poor diet, you don't have enough digestive enzymes. But you need large doses of enzymes to break the protein coating down. And Juice Plus contains active, live digestive enzymes. And it comes from live, uncooked food. So you want to consider doing it. And that's what Juice Plus is. It's live, fresh food. You'll need something to boost your immune system. I usually use a preparation called BioBrand. It can be prescribed on the NHS, but you'll never get your GP to do so. I don't know why, because it's not a drug. Only, not a drug. You will need large doses of antioxidants, vitamin C, selenium, alpha-lipoic acid. You'll need something to clear the infections from your body. Colloidal silver, iodine, chlorine dioxide. These are all non-drug approaches to clearing infection from the body. And you will need to deal with geopathic stress if it's affecting you. You will need something to make your body more alkaline. So start with a simple approach, old-fashioned sodium bicarbonate. And you will most certainly need to resolve all stresses and heal the physiological effect the stress has upon you. And I go into lots of details, free of charge, of what you can do, how you can deal with them, and dealing with the stress in the book. And if you simply have a genetic predisposition, you just have to work harder, that's all. That's all it is. You've got that genetic predisposition. How do you antagonize or balance this system? Changes in your eating habits, getting rid of the milk in particular, and losing weight, and taking bioidentical progesterone cream will be one way of doing it. And antagonize the conversion of testosterone into dihydrotestosterone by various different herbs that are already on the market. I've already mentioned iodine. That is something which could be the subject of a complete new lecture, but I'm not going to waste time on that one today. So I've already said, I never tell anyone whether to take or continue to take the medication. That is a decision that you will have to do yourself. It's entirely up to you. But if you have chemotherapy or radiotherapy, please take big doses of antioxidants. If you have radiotherapy, take homeopathic Radboron 30C 3 times daily while having it, and for at least 2 weeks after the course has ended. Try to organize your radiotherapy in the morning so that you can slap on old-fashioned aloe vera gel every hour, every day until you go to bed, and for at least 1 hour, so at least 1 week after the course has ended, or until the skin sort of settles. It's incredibly effective. If you go out to the sunshine and you find yourself burning, slap old-fashioned aloe vera on. It's amazing effective, and it is not expensive. So slap it on your body if you have the radiotherapy. If you have chemotherapy, take a homeopathic dose of the drug that they're giving you, the 30C preparation, 3 times a day for at least 1 week after the course has ended. And it does minimize the adverse effects. With chemotherapy in particular, you need to take probiotics. I'm told the EEC has banned the use of the word probiotics in English, but I'm sure you know what I mean. Probiotics on a regular basis as the chemotherapy kills the friendly organisms in your bowel. With both, improve your immune system and alkalinize yourself. Learn relaxation, visualization, and affirmation exercise. They're all things you can learn how to do. I can do them on a regular basis. They're extremely valuable. Now, we come to the big K. Not the big C, cancer, the big K. The ketogenic diet. If anybody wishes to go on a ketogenic diet, they will kill off their cancer in between 2 and 3 months, completely. But it's hard. It's not easy. So you need to understand what you have to do. And that is going to be described in due course, as far as I'm concerned, because cancer cells feed on sugar. If anybody has got a brain cancer, you cannot survive a brain tumour if you have any carbohydrate, because your brain naturally uses sugar and cancer cells feed on sugar. So you have to cut out the sugar entirely, and your body will then produce ketones, which your brain can feed on, and your body can feed on. But you cut out the sugar, and I can show you that is not easy. That is not easy. You eat fat and protein. In 36 hours on that diet, you will use up all sugar reserves, and your body will start to produce ketones. You could start a 24-hour fast, or you can go on a 5-day fast, and you will find that you will produce a lot of ketones very quickly. Your body can use ketones for energy, but cancer cells cannot, so they die very rapidly. So what do you have to do? What do you have to avoid? There's a list of all the foods that you have to avoid, and what you may eat is a list of all the foods you may eat. 2 lists of more foods you can eat than you can't eat. You need to go through them. And if anybody wants information on that, they can just send me an email, and I will send them a detail of it, and the books about it. Basically, ladies and gentlemen, I've come to the end of my talk. I've got copies of the book, The New Medicine, which has got all of this. It has not got the ketogenic diet in it, because I chose not to put it in because I thought it was too extreme for 2 people. So you either buy a copy of it, or you can get it online. That's my
Wasn't that good? Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to take, well, it's almost impossible to take everything in. But I think what you can get from this is the more knowledge that you have, the better it is for you, and you can make good informed decisions based on that knowledge. And I think that was amazing, some of the things that you say. And I was just sort of putting it into the perspective of what we did, Sue and I did. And yeah, it all rings true. When we started this off, it's like we didn't do everything right. We were on a learning curve, and so will other people be. So it's not that you have to remember this, and implement it all. No, that's just going to go over the top of your head, and it's going to put you under a lot of stress. If you take sugars out, dairy out, and stress out, if you like, deal with those, just those 2 things are massively stacking the odds in your favour. But there's lots more that you can do. You start juicing and start implementing all these different things, plenty of fruits and vegetables, low glycemic sort of foods, then you are really helping your body. You don't, and a lot of people, I mean, some people have said to us at meetings before, my head's all over the place, how can I take all this in? But no, stop. You've done this, and you've done this. That's fantastic. So don't think all this crazy stuff, I can't take it all in. You can do so much, and then you build upon that, just the same as Sue built upon it. And we make mistakes. We might make mistakes, that's okay. What I have found is that a lot of the books that I've read, lots of the information, is that there are contradictions, and in professionals' advice and guidance. But the core things, I think they all agree on, which is fantastic, and you should get that. So if you've got a few core things, maybe buy Patrick's book. I mean, we're hopefully going to buy that tonight. That's really interesting. But what we'll do now, we've got Aaron. So Aaron's been to our meetings before, and he gave a presentation, squirted all his fermentation all over the floor one time. It was great fun. But Aaron's very knowledgeable in fermented foods and the benefits that can give to you. So if you'd like to come up, Aaron, and it's going to be about sort of 10-15 minutes talk on the benefits of fermented foods. And Aaron runs a business called Zymo Foods, where he provides, he has some of his products over here, which then we'll have a break after Aaron, and you can have a look at some of those products, and then you can have something, go to the toilet, and just have a chat with each other. Yeah, so this is about having a nice time, have a chat with some like-minded people. So, okay, I'll hand over to Aaron.
Good evening. I'll keep this fairly brief because I think most of you will be ready for a break in a short while. So just a brief introduction. Fermented foods have been around with us throughout our history. The oldest is about 3,800 years old. They found some kefir, which I'm afraid was a dairy-based product, some kefir cheese on a Chinese...
Turn it up, please.
Sorry, Fiona?
Volume.
Okay. Where's the...
I don't think we can.
Okay,
Let's get it a little bit higher.
Right. Right, I'll speak a bit louder. Is that better? Can you hear me? I assume so. So throughout our sort of history, there's been fermented foods and through all cultures. That mummy was found in China, but the sauerkrauts come from Eastern Europe, the kimchi from Korea, Japan and China have both got very strong traditions of fermented pickles. Most of the pickles you get out there are fermented in one form. Miso is a form of fermentation, and soy sauce is fermented traditionally anyway, in the fish sauces of Southeast Asia. So fermented foods have been around a very long time. But from the point of view of the health benefits, we mentioned probiotics before there, and it's very much that a lot of the bacteria in the fermented foods are very probiotic for our digestive system. When you buy like a probiotic yogurt, it's got 2 or 3 strains that are being grown in the laboratory, whereas something like kefir's got over 50 different types of bacteria in there that help to feed the various bits of our digestive system. It's difficult to say exactly how they work because really, although our science has been around a while, we're just beginning to get to know how our gut really works with all of the bacteria in it. And there are some arguments about how many of the bacteria that we eat actually get through our stomach, which is a very acidic environment. But there's some work that shows that some of the bacteria does get through. But there's also been shown that sometimes even the dead cells, the living bacteria can recognize the shape of the dead bacteria. But there's another aspect of fermented foods, is that it's also been shown to be prebiotic, in that is that it also feeds the good bacteria in your stomach. So it's not just the bacteria that's involved in it, it's because of the pre-digestion of the food through the fermentation process, it creates the different environment of the vegetables that allow the good bacteria that's already in there to become predominant in the gut. So it helps us to get that very good health environment, and it's been shown more through the microbiome programs and various things that the gut health really has a big impact on the immune system. We've just been hearing how important the immune system is. So getting that very good gut health helps to build the very good immune system, and also enables us to get more of the good nutrients out of the food that we're having. Because you can eat very good quality food, but if you don't have the very good healthy gut environment, you're not necessarily getting the best value out of that food through your digestive system. And so the idea of the fermented foods and drinks is very much to help to feed and develop a good, healthy digestive system. And all of the vegetables that are fermented from raw, so there's no cooking process, there's nothing lost in cooking, everything is in there. Like the sauerkraut, there's only 2 ingredients, that is cabbage and salt. And the fermentation is you just pack them down, you don't even add any extra water. The salt draws enough liquid out of the cabbage and you compress it so the cabbage is underneath the brine, and you just let it ferment away, and that is it. Most of the other fermented foods are that simple, so there's no added ingredients. Yeah.
What sort of salt do you use now?
I use rock salt, but you could use sea salt, but basically a natural salt, not table salt, which has got chemical additives and it's chemically derived. And the natural salts also have extra sort of minerals, natural minerals in there as well. So you're getting an extra mineral kick in there along with it. I think we'll just sort of, I don't want to go on too much.
I think that's fine. Yeah, thank you, Aaron.
Unless anybody's got any other.
Did anyone have a question for Aaron about the fermented foods?
How do you make kimchi?
Kimchi, it's a very similar process to the sauerkraut, except it's got a spice paste in there of chilies, garlic, and ginger. With sauerkraut, they normally add the salt and leave the salt in, so you measure the salt so it's not too salty. With kimchi, you salt the cabbage and leave it for a while, and then you rinse the cabbage and dry it, and then you mix it up with the spice paste. Traditionally in the southeast, they normally use either fish sauce, or sometimes they actually put bits of squid or shrimp in. Because I have a lot of vegan customers, I don't do that. When I make kimchi, I actually add seaweed, which seaweed is quite nutritious anyway, but it also has the same glutamate umami sort of thing that you get from fish sauce, so it adds that aspect to the kimchi. But it's basically cabbage, like the sauerkraut, but it's in a spicy sauce. But there's normally sort of grated carrot, daikon, radish, and things.
How
like
long
that.
does it take to...
Kimchi is a very short ferment. You can start eating it within 2 or 3 days of the ferment. The Koreans actually have a special fridge only for their kimchi. They have a kimchi fridge. So that you can make it, keep it out for a few days, and then it goes in the fridge, and then you just eat it forever. They normally make it about once a year when the cabbage is seasoned. And that's the thing with all fermentation. It's like any preservation system, the idea is to use things when they're in good. So I'm virtually out of sauerkraut now, and I've got to wait until the cabbages come ready and we pour them. So it's you're doing things as they come into season. And personally, I work with local growers to try and get local organic vegetables that they use as much as possible.
Could we have just one more question and then
Could you square the use of salt in making these fermented foods with the general dietary advice that's around that you should avoid salt?
Well, there are some arguments that that is not quite strictly true. So there's counter-arguments about the whole salt debate. I think we need to take that as a separate thing. But yet you're not having a lot of these. You'll have them as a side dish, along a main dish. The maximum I use is 2% salt. So it's you're not having a big meal of this. You're just having a bit on the side. And the drinks don't have any salt in. It's just the vegetables. But it acts as Salt, as well as being a flavour enhancer, it is also, it helps at the initial stages to help preserve the vegetables while the good bacteria get hold, to stop any bad bacteria getting hold during the early stages of fermentation. During fermentation, the acidity builds up, which makes it harder for the bad bacteria to get a hold. But if you don't have that initial salt, it's more dangerous, that you're more likely to get bad bacteria getting a hold earlier on.
And of course, it's a natural salt as well, with all the minerals in there. We're not talking table salt.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Absolutely, which is a totally different kettle of fish. I was wanting to sort of draw it to a close there. What you could, if there's any more questions, if you'd like to ask Aaron, because we're going to have a little bit of a break now, if that's okay, and yeah, have a chat, nip to the toilet, get yourself a drink. So if we could do that, we'll start up again. If anyone would like to ask, let's have some of these products so which you can have a look at. You will have time to buy things afterwards, so don't think it's just going to close up. You will have time to have a chat with Aaron. We may have to take it out into the bar though, because we have to be out of this room at 9:30, which is why I'm quite keen to get started, if that's okay. With her son, she lost her son to chemotherapy about 16 years ago, and he didn't even have the cancer, and they chemoed him and unfortunately passed away. But Chris has a passion for helping people. She's got a lot of health books in her shop. She sells apricot kernels, which is at Gedling. So Chris is at the back. If anyone wants to have a chat with Chris, she was very helpful to us. She directed us to certain books that were fundamental. Philip Day, Cancer, Why We're Still Dying to Know the Truth, was probably the reason why Sue is here. And that's through Chris. So, you know, Chris has a lot of knowledge, and we hear a lot of these big words, these big words of things, and I don't know, sometimes they go over the top of my head. And I feel for people because when they have cancer, their mind's all over the place. How can you possibly focus on this sort of stuff? It's a nightmare. But Chris talks in simple terms, you know, on simple principles, and it is simple. It's not rocket science. You know, there's certain tribes, 18 different cultures all over the world that don't have cancer, and they don't have heart disease, and they don't have diabetes or MS or any of these westernized illnesses. And if that's true, and you need to satisfy yourself that that is true, there's a book called The Blue Zones by Simon Buer that you can have a read of. That these are very healthy people, and they live regularly till way over 100 years of age. And if these people are doing this, there's not a rocket scientist amongst them. There's not an oncologist amongst them. They're just eating
raw, organic, well mineralised, from good soils, from lack of stress, all these principles, and they're living very healthy lives, and they go down with a hoe in their hand, climbing mountains. So if that's true, then we need to take the principles of that and put it into our lives. Now, there's some things that are beyond our control. There's lots of things that are in our control. So we need to start thinking about that, and don't think you have to be a rocket scientist to understand all this stuff. It's not difficult. It's difficult to change habits, but it's not difficult to actually change the principles of what we do. So what I'll do, I'll go through some of the principles of what we did. The story starts, and there will be a time for questions and answers. So we'll have at least half an hour. I'll try and get through things as quickly as possible. Where we started, some people have heard this before who've been to our meetings, but my parents died of cancer within 3 weeks of each other, about 6.5 years ago. And in that time I witnessed some really awful things, contradictory things that I was really unhappy with, that it didn't make sense, and but when your mind, because I didn't have cancer, but when you're looking out for someone that has cancer and you love them, then your mind's all over the place as well, and you can't focus, and you go home thinking, hang on a minute, what did he just say? What was that? And if you're going through cancer, what I would always suggest that you do is to take in a tape recorder, get your phone, and actually record what was said. Because often you go home and you think, what did he say? So having it in your top pocket, just recording away, will help you to backtrack to see, right, this is what he did say. And then when he says he didn't say that, excuse me, yes you did. And I think that's a very helpful thing. But what I did when, in the aftermath of losing my parents, I went into a lot of study. I read books, I got DVDs, went to lectures, went these Gerson tapes, Healing Cancer World Summit. I've got books coming out my ears and all sorts of avenues. And sometimes people say, well, you go on the internet and start researching, and it's all confusing because they're saying that and they're saying that, and these people are saying that, and who do I believe? And the only way that you can do that is to actually to have an understanding, to get as much knowledge as you can to enable you to make the choice which is right for you. So 2.5 years later, after losing my parents, Sue got cancer in the liver, where all the tubes are coming out, a 2.5-inch tumour, and she's got 3 tumours on the pancreas. And they said, well, it's like Charing Cross Station, and whether it's benign or whether it's malignant, then it doesn't look good. I'm so sorry, here's some temazepam because you didn't need them, sleeping tablets. So that's where we were. Whenever Sue ate, she, particularly acidic foods, she would get these tremendous stabbing pains in the stomach. So that was very difficult. She lost 1.5 stone in weight, and the doctor didn't give much hope at all. So what we did was we had to implement the principles of what I'd learned. And Sue thought I was a crackpot in those 2.5 years. You conspiracy theorists, do this, do that, you do the other. But I continued on with it. And, sorry, do you want to just, you don't have to say anything, Sue. Sue's not talking, just say hello. And just stand up and... This is Sue. She'll be up here speaking. So we implemented the principles of what I'd learned, and to understand how to reg the environment, the bodily environment that cancer needs to thrive. The principles of this, again, you don't have to understand everything, but to alkalize the body, we've already listened to this a little earlier. And what we do, when we say alkalize the body, it's not rocket science. You get the rubbish out, all processed foods, get rid of. If it's got a label, if it's processed, if man has tinkered about with it in any form whatsoever, don't touch it with a barge pole, especially if you have cancer. That's a simple principle that will stand you in good stead. So don't think, oh, can I have that, can I? No, if man has tinkered about with it, don't touch it with a barge pole.
Can I just say, Rob?
Yeah.
Sorry. That it doesn't mean to have totally raw food. We do cook, but it's to learn how to get back to doing home cooking and stop everything going in the microwave, going thing all the
We've
time.
never eaten so well. I'm just mindful that the camera won't pick up what you're saying. But you're absolutely right that we've certainly never eaten so well. And you can swap MSG, monosodium glutamate, and aspartame, and these neurotoxic sort of products, flavour enhancers, for herbs and spices and all these wonderful things, and natural Himalayan rock salt. The flavours in these things are far better than all this rubbish, this man-manipulated products. I always think that the processed food industry is an organisation, it's the ugly twin sister of the pharmaceutical industry, because they spike the food to make you want it, to have that bliss factor, to know that this is fantastic and I need more. And you get more absolute rubbish. So this organisation gets you sick, and then this organisation takes over from where they get you sick to make even more money out of you in treating you. Not to get you better, but to treat you, because fundamentally they treat symptoms, they don't go to root cause, of which naturopathic organisations do. They deal with the reason why you got that and address those reasons. So if you think chemotherapy is going to cure cancer, because the doctor tells you, we have information here that says that it actually causes cancer. Category 1 and Category 2 carcinogenic. This is the material safety data sheet of the companies that produce these products. Now, a lot of people don't even know what carcinogenic means, and that's fine, we don't move in those realms. But carcinogenic means cancer-causing. Category 1 means known to be cancer-causing in humans. Category 2 means thought to be cancer-causing in humans. So if you'd like to explain to me, or if anyone would like to explain to me, how you're going to cure cancer with something that causes cancer by their own admission, and the documents are here, it's not me saying this. Okay. I'm losing track a little bit. Sorry, I get a little bit passionate with these things. So to alkalize the body, you're looking to have food as nature intended, food as God intended, that you can pluck out of the ground, that's local, that's organic, because organic is not special, it's food. It's just food as it should be. Yet we've got this taxation of good food because it's got all these red tape attached to it, and they've more or less taxed food to make it very expensive so a lot of people can't afford it. How disgraceful is that? But it doesn't have to be organic. If you know that it's sourced from responsibly produced suppliers, your neighbour's garden, an allotment society, organic, yes, fantastic if you can afford it. Your own back garden, start growing. Get the herbs, spices, grow your own stuff on the back garden. Fantastic. One thing which I do like to explain to people, because I think it gives people a lot of food for thought, forgive the pun. But if you imagine these ready meals, these microwave meals, that it's grown in corporate agriculture, which are nutritionally depleted soils. It has the main three core things: nitrogen, potassium and phosphates, put into synthetic fertilizers in there. And it's not left fallow or anything like that. So where's all the zinc and the iron and the magnesium and all the other other chemicals that should be in that soil is deficient. So the actual crop is deficient, and it's unhealthy. So it can't defend itself against fungal attack or bacterial attack. And you're hoping that food is going to give you nutrients for your body. So we'll look at it this way. If you understand that when corporations are involved, it's not about health, it's about satisfying the shareholders. So it's grown in these nutritionally depleted soils, this nice little packet of dinner on your plate. Then it gets cooked, which destroys all the enzymes. So you cook food above a certain temperature and you've destroyed all the enzymes. You need enzymes, as Patrick clearly pointed out. So we go cooking all our food. What do you think's happened to the enzymes? They're live things. What happens if we get cooked? We don't last very long, we die. So do enzymes, and we need those enzymes. So I'm not saying don't cook, but we need to put into our diet a large proportion of raw vegetation, salads, of whatever, fruits and vegetables. We did restrict the fruit content because of the fructose, which is sugar. Sugar feeds cancer. But apples, pears, low glycemic, and we did include pineapple as well because of the proteolytic enzyme in there, bromelain. But that is obviously sugar, but it has its use in other realms. They're the three that we included. So we've cooked the food after it's been grown in nutritionally depleted soils. Then it gets frozen, depletes more nutrition out of that food. Then it's left in the freezer for, I don't know, 3 months, 4 months, I don't know, whatever. Then it's taken out there. It's maybe de-thawed, or you can cook it from frozen in a microwave oven, which depletes if there was anything else left in that food, but it also cooks it unnaturally and degenerates the actual nutrition because of the actual radioactive waves that are in there. So, and it's cooked in plastic. And we're talking about estrogens. The plastics are estrogen mimicking. So how do you think that is going to feed your body? You ask yourself the question. So I hope that gives an understanding as to how we can become deficient in ourselves, nutritionally deficient. And you need to address that by eating the foods that God prepared for us, unadulterated. So the other thing is the acidity of the body. And in many respects, cancer requires an acidic bodily environment. We know that Dr. Otto Warburg in 1932 got the Nobel Prize for understanding exactly what causes cancer, and that was acidity. It was deoxygenation, and if you introduce sugar into that, you get fermentation. The body cells can't operate in that environment, so they shut down and they go into a stupid mode, which is all they can do is divide and split. But even that is your body trying to survive. It's going into a process to actually help it survive. But all it can do is divide and split. So he got the Nobel Prize for this, and I'll just, sorry for people who've heard this before. Dr. Otto Warburg, the underlying cause of cancer, no. This was from a lecture that he delivered to Nobel laureates on June 30th, 1966 at Lindau, Lake Constance, Germany. Nobody today can say that one does not know what the prime cause of cancer is. On the contrary, there is no disease whose prime cause is better known, so that today ignorance is no longer an excuse for avoiding measures for prevention. That the prevention of cancer will come, there is no doubt. But how long prevention will be avoided depends on how long the prophets of agnosticism will succeed in inhibiting the application of scientific knowledge in the cancer field. In the meantime, millions of men and women must die of cancer unnecessarily. So this guy got the Nobel Prize for what he found out in 1932. So disgrace. That's not even coming close to what it is. Okay, so we need to oxygenate the body. We do that by various ways. We can, the major way is to eat the right foods that are going to enable your body to actually take oxygen into it. So again, it's eating these alkalizing foods. And in many respects, having an alkalized diet and an alkalized body is the other side of the coin from having, if you have oxygenation or an alkaline body, you have a well-oxygenated body. It goes hand in glove. So you can get exercise, you feel good, you get the endorphins, you get these wonderful things going on in you, and you get oxygenation, cellular oxygenation. You also allow your lymphatic system to do its job, which is to actually take toxins from your body, which you have accumulated over a lifetime, out of your body, because the cells take them in, they do what they want with them, they get oxygen, respiration from them, they take all the nutrients, and then you have waste products, and they get put out into the lymphatic system, but we don't move. And so there's no pump to the lymphatic system, it's a system of movement. We need to move, we need to cycle, we need to run, all these things, which gets this lymphatic system moving this toxicity out of us. Yet we go putting this underarm deodorant under and blocking up all our lymph nodes and things like that. We have a constant onslaught of health and beauty products. And this is another thing that people need to have a look at. Health and beauty products, hairspray, being breathed in, preventing you absorbing oxygen into your body. Not to mention the toxins that are going in there. So to oxygenate, you can also go on the oxygen centre, which is what divers go into, and they pump it full of oxygen, enriched oxygen, under pressure, and that gets oxygenation into your body very well. So there's one in Nottingham, and they charge £10 per hour. There's some organisations that charge £200 per hour, private, but these are subsidised. There's some leaflets here, if you want. So sorry if I'm racing through, I'm just mindful that I want to get a question and answer time for everyone. So I'm racing through a little bit. Okay. Okay, to eliminate sugar, we've gone through that. That's such an important thing. If you imagine, just visualize these cancer cells that have 95 receptor sites on them, as opposed to 5 receptor sites on normal cells. So the whole system of the PET scan, which cancer patients go through, relies on the fact that when you radiate sugar, glucose, and inject it into someone, that the cancer cells go and they grab it all, because there's 95 receptor sites on there, thereabouts, and it lights up like a lighthouse. So the fact that they know that sugar feeds cancer, which again is a disgrace. So yeah, in every which way you can, avoid sugar, and people might go for artificial sugar, sweeteners. Has man tinkered about with it? I think so. So get back to basics. Right, has man looked about with this? Yes, so we're not going to go there. So, apricot kernels, they were a massive part of the armoury. And it explains in our book about how apricot kernels work. And it's such a fantastic system that it's like a heat-seeking missile to cancer. We have a lady down the road from us that contacted me through Chris, I believe, at Mustard Seed. And I went round to visit her. I gave her a copy of the book in its lesser format that it was. We produced it on little booklet form. But I spent some time with her, and the husband wasn't best pleased that I was there.
shall I say. But the lady asked to see Sue, and we went back to see her with Sue, and we had a good chat, but the husband was very uncomfortable and he wasn't very welcoming, so we got the message that we weren't welcome there. But she said that she read the book 3 times, and we left her. We're not going to force this on anyone. And I think it must have been about 4 or 5 months later that she went into the mustard seed, and she said, I don't have my cancer anymore, my brain tumour. And she said it was the size of a tennis ball, yeah, which is colossal. And I picked up the courage to phone her, and because what I ask people, if you find positive things that come from this, then shout it from the rooftops. Let us know. Let other people know. Why would you want to keep that inside? And I asked the lady, what did you do? And she said, well, I did the juice thing, but I didn't like that. I thought, well, what's that got to do with it? I didn't say that, I was respectful. But she did it for a while, but she had the apricot kernels. And because she was diabetic, she reduced more of the sugar content. And she doesn't have the cancer anymore. So that's wonderful to hear. And I asked her, would you come and speak at one of our meetings just to say to people, to inspire people? And she said, yes, we'll do that. We arranged one at Mustard Seed, but unfortunately she didn't turn up. And this is not to look down on the lady, because we don't know her walk and the husband wasn't really there. But if you find that you do well, then let us know. And maybe we could put a little testimony on our website to inspire other people, as we are doing now. We have other people coming on board. Stella, who's reversed her cancer through natural principles, who often comes up, and we've had today, we've got a little bit more time, but thank you for coming, Stella. We've got Har and his father reversed their cancers through natural principles. So, this isn't just wacky Sue and Robert. There's lots of people that are doing this sort of stuff, but it takes knowledge and responsibility. And people, what they eat is part of their psychology. You try and tell or explain to people, well, you shouldn't have that. What would you say? It's a bit like telling someone to stop smoking. Who do you think you are? It's part of a psychology, very difficult to actually break. But you have to break this thing that's got you to this stage. Right, the apricot kernels were an important part of the armoury. Very briefly, they contain cyanide, they contain benzaldehyde, they contain 2 molecules of glucose, all bound together. Now everyone has a shock intake of breath, cyanide. Would anyone like one, by the way? I've not sold that very well, have I? But just take one, because I don't want to kill everyone in the room. So we'll just pass them round. What you'll find is that they have a bit of a bitter, anaesthetic sort of taste to them. Hopefully no one will die this evening. But it's four things. 2 glucose molecules, cyanide, benzaldehyde. As we know, the cancer cell loves sugar, loves glucose. So the cancer grabs onto it. There's an enzyme which we need enzymes. This, not just for digesting, we need them for every function of the body. What happens is that there's a special enzyme called beta-glucosase. I never say that properly, but it doesn't matter. But it only appears at the point of cancer. So nowhere else in the body, this enzyme appears at the point of cancer. No one died yet? Okay. And what happens there is that this beta-glucosase has the ability to unlock the powers of that cyanide and the benzaldehyde at the point of cancer. So imagine that. That's a natural way
of actually a heat-seeking missile that goes straight to the cancer because of the 2-glucose. It has the beta-glucosidase at the cancer, unlocks the cyanide, the benzaldehyde, and poisons the cancer. You have bromelain and things like that to break down that protein membrane, then it's able to get to it a little bit better as well, which is why we included the bromelain in the pineapple. So doesn't that sound fantastic? And there wasn't a pharmacist around. It was already in the gut. So that, it just amazes me. Anyway, we'll go on. Milk, a major thing. If you have cancer, you take milk out of it. And dairy, absolutely. You've got growth factors in there that are known to increase the rate of cancer growth exponentially. So, and we're not cows, and we're not little cows either. It's only designed for little cows, not big cows. We're big. We've stopped growing. So why do we need this growth stuff when we're already grown up? We don't, but what that does do, the insulin growth factor 1, IGF-1, promotes cancer growth, especially if you have cancer. So other reasons as well is what they do to the cows. They don't even feed the cows the grass in these corporate sort of places, these CAFOs as they call them, controlled animal feeding organisations. They feed them corn, genetically modified corn. They're not designed to eat corn, they're designed to eat grass. And they have a highly efficient way of dealing with grass in full stomachs. And you change the ecology of that, and you change the whole thing about the animal. And they pump all growth, lactating stimulants, and they create infections because of this wrong source of eating, which all comes through into the milk. The pus comes through into the milk. And so these are all reasons. So are you having milk in your teeth now? So that's that. To detoxify the body, this is a real fundamental thing which Sue and I did. Because it would have been unfair for Sue to be doing all these things and me to be eating all these cakes and pies and pasties. That would have been unfair. So we went on the same diet. And I lost 2 stone in weight. I was 15.4. I'm about 13 now, actually. But there's no intention for me to do that. But that's what happened. We've never eaten so well in our life. Don't think we're just munching on carrots all day long and a bit of lettuce to throw in. It's wonderful. So the first point of call was the colon cleanse, which is a gentle product. Some would disagree with that. But generally speaking, it's quite a gentle product, and you're not running to the toilet. If you're a little bit unsure, then maybe have half the amount and just see how you respond to it. But we used a product from Vital Minerals, from Philip Day, Credence Publications, and it was fine. And all it does is, it's not like having enemas, so don't worry about that. It gently releases the plaque that has built up over years in your colon and your bowels. Because when that's there, it's absorbing toxicity back into your body. And you need to have that running efficiently to get toxicity out of your body. If this is clear, then you can do that more efficiently. And you're not absorbing toxicity back into your body by all this horribleness that's in your guts. So the next point of call, it does explain a lot of this in our book. This is what we did. Again, we're not telling you what to do, but that's what we did. And this is the way that we're probably able to get away with some of the things that practitioners have to be very, very careful about, because we're not selling you anything. We're not selling you vitamins or minerals or anything like that. We just have a passion for what we're doing. And we're seeing some wonderful things happening with people. And it's wonderful to be part of. So the next point of call was a liver cleanse. So you've got this, your gut's a lot cleaner. That's going to effectively get more toxins out of your body. You need to get this unclagged, your liver. So we did this by a wonderful thing that we can blame Chris Starler for. Yes, you. She's not listening. So she suggested, and I think it was from the Philip Day book, pineapple, third of pineapple, about ping pong ball size of ginger, clove of garlic, and virgin olive oil, mixed up in a blender. Can you imagine that? And Sue, she didn't like it, but she had it for 10 days. So, and that served to actually clean the liver out. There may be other ways to do that. There probably are more ways, maybe better tasting ways, but you'll have to find those. But you know, it's better than chemotherapy. Keep your body hydrated. How many people drink water these days? White water doesn't taste very good, does it? You prefer all these things in that have. You know, I went into Tesco's a little while ago and had a look at all the diluted juices, and I couldn't find one of them that didn't have aspartame in it. And if you understand aspartame, it's a neurotoxic thing. Excites, it stimulates the taste buds, but then this excitement, it kills off brain cells progressively. Doesn't mean to say you'll have some and then you'll go daft. It's already daft, but it's a progressive thing. It continues on, and the more you have, the more it kills. And we wonder why we have an epidemic of people, children going through all these problems and dementia and all these problems. Well, we need to start addressing some of these toxins. People are always counting calories, but are you counting chemicals? So you need to count chemicals. Eliminate, I've touched on this, eliminate fast food and junk processed food. We've gone down that route, and you know the reasons why. The preservatives, the colorants, and all the horrible things that are not there for your health, they're there to make it last longer on the shelf, so there's more profits to the shareholders of the corporations. So you need things that go off. You know, milk went off when I was a young kid. Went off by the following day. It lasts 2 weeks now. What's happened to that? It's not the same milk. So if you think I'm talking rubbish, there's a definite thing that's gone on there that's allowed it to last that long. Dehydrogenation, which puts the milk under tremendous pressure, and it obliterates the molecular structure of the fat cell, so it won't separate out into the cream in the top. Yeah. But it's denatured it. You know, so if milk was ever any good for you, which it probably isn't, it's even worse for you now. So this is a bit doom and gloom, but it's not in many respects, because armed with this knowledge, then you can do positive things. It's not doom and gloom. You can do loads of things to actually address these. If you're not aware, then what can you do about it? So to take the strain off the immune system and support it, well, again, you're having fresh fruits and vegetables that have properly constituted vitamins and minerals grown in natural soils, well-mineralized soils, nutritious soils. These, when we cook our food, we deplete all the digestive enzymes. The enzymes are killed. So we need digestive enzymes. We know that. So you go cooking them, you deplete the vitamin C. Heat kills vitamin C. You know, you don't want scurvy. A lot of these things that happen to us, all these eczemas and psoriasis and these things, they're possibly mild forms of vitamin C deficiencies, scurvy. So there's ways to address that problem. So we supplemented with digestive enzymes, as well as going on to normal organic foods. We supplemented with supplementary digestive enzymes, which was a massive part of the armoury. To de-stress, now that's difficult, isn't it? If you've just been told you've got cancer,
how's that work? But you find support from loving people, from good friends. Find how to laugh again. Something which we all need to do, and to get those good things going on in the body, to release, because a lot of this is psychology as well. If you've got hurts and resentments and bitterness and stuff like this, it's all acidifying. It has a physiological effect. It has an effect on your body. So you need to address those issues. If that neighbour nicked off with your lawnmower and they didn't bring it back, well, give him the lawnmower. But it's better that than you harbour these terrible things inside you that the other guy's not even thinking about, probably. It's all inside you. So, adequate sleep is so important. There's certain reasons for that, and we need to start shutting lights down, and everyone's tippy-tapping on computer systems with this bright light coming back at them after 9 o'clock at night, which prevents you, this bright white light, from forming the melatonin, the thing that puts you into a deep restorative sleep. So we're up till 2 and 3 in the morning, and with this bright light stuff, so you never get to sleep properly, and so your body can't go into that restorative sleep. So these things, maybe get a light system, maybe candles, maybe some orange light, so why street lights are orange, so that they don't disturb the melatonin level. So these are things. Sleep is very important. Exercise, for reasons we discussed earlier, the lymphatic system, the oxygenation of the body, and the feel-good factor, to get these good feeling chemicals back into you, which save you from being depressed, which again is acidifying. Being depressed, there's a lot of energy that goes out from you when you're depressed, and you need all that energy, everything. This is a holistic sort of thing. It's not that, it's not that, it's not that. There's no silver bullet. It's everything coming together to create the whole person. So sunlight. We're told to keep out the sun because the sunlight causes cancer. A load of hogwash. Absolute hogwash. We form vitamin D predominantly from the sunlight, and it takes 2 or 3 days to actually process it in your skin. So even if you've processed it in a nice bit of sunlight, and you go into the shower, and you start washing with all this soap, this sodium lauryl and lauryl sulfate, which are engine degreasers, they're used predominantly in engine degreasing, then you wash out all the oils and all the manufactured vitamin D from your skin. I'm not saying don't go in the shower, because we'd have a smelly room. What I am saying is that use the soap and the detergents for the groin area, underneath the arms, and just wash other areas in water. And then you don't wash all this goodness that your body, it's there for a reason. So just take note of that. But the sunlight, vitamin D is one of the most anti-cancerous products known to man. And every cancer patient is vitamin D deficient, bar none. So you need to have your vitamin D checked, and you need to maybe have vitamin D supplementation and get off out there in the sunlight. They obviously don't burn. The body heals itself, and this is where you can sort of say smoking, sunlight causes cancer. I don't know, maybe. But it's more the trigger of cancer, because if you burn yourself with the sunlight, or if you knock your thumb with a hammer, or if you poison yourself with smoking, then the body naturally goes out to heal this. And if it can't switch off because it doesn't have the the enzymes to actually create that switching off system, then that healing will continue and continue and continue. It's like one of those stressors. that we were talking about a little earlier. That is the actual hammer on the nail the cause of cancer, or is the sunlight the cause of cancer? Because you had to have the environmental conditions that cancer needed to flourish in the first place to allow that knock on the thumb to grow into something else, or to have the sunlight which has burnt your skin, the body goes to heal it, but you had to have that underlying system to actually create that so it didn't switch off. So maybe a trigger for cancer, maybe not always the cause of cancer, and you need sunlight. What might be more appropriate is to have a look at the actual sun creams that you're looking at, that you put on your skin. And if you put MSDS by the name of some of those products on the sun cream to research the material safety data sheets of those, so MSDS at the end of the name of these long-winded words, you'll find out that they are carcinogenic. So the actual sun cream is carcinogenic, has carcinogenic products in it. So does that mean that sun causes cancer? Oil pulling, where we used coconut oil to swill backwards and forwards between a teeth for 15-20 minutes in the morning. Yes, but it's a way of detoxifying again. So it's an excellent way of detoxifying. I'll just mention oil pulling, then you do the research on it. You can get a book called Oil Pulling. So chewing, being able to chew properly, because if you don't chew properly, you've got these big hunks of food that go into your stomach, can't be broken down properly here, can't be assimilated into the body because it's big chunks going over these poor little villi that are thinking, what's these things jumping over the top of me? And it can't be absorbed efficiently into the body, or it puts a lot of stress on your body to actually break down these big lumps of food. So, and the first point of call, you have enzymes coming from the mouth to do the first point of digestion. Then it goes into the stomach to produce the second point of digestion. Then it gets put into your digestive tract, your small intestines, for it to be taken in and assimilated to the body. So all these areas are areas that you can do a few more chews to make that food a lot better for you. People with cachexia want to do all this stuff because they need to efficiently get that product into them. So they need to not. They need to do these protocols because they're very important. Juicing is another major thing because it gets those nutrients, take the fibre out. Fibre's good, and we need that, but you need to get those nutrients into you immediately, as efficiently as possible. And juicing is a way of actually doing that, getting it into the bloodstream within 10 to 15 minutes, bam, straight in there. So you might want to look at juicers and to get that in on the regime. We took out red meat, what's happening to the red meat, what's happening to the pork beef, all the antibiotics. We think that the doctors are just talking about, or just giving us these antibiotics, and it's not a case of that. They are these sorry. Yeah. Okay. A lot of the antibiotics are going into the beasts to keep them healthy, to keep them from having infections. That doesn't just go away, it goes into the meat, we eat the meat, and it comes into us. So we need to make sure that that meat, what we have white meat, fish, chicken from responsibly sourced products, not these stressed birds, not these horrible things that we do to the birds. So what we'll do, we'll wrap it up from there. Now if we can ask Patrick to come up, and we'll have the opportunity for the next half an hour to have a question and answer time. I have tried to race through a lot of the things, and apologies for that, but I hope it gives you something to think about. And what we have to do is we have to be out of the room at past because we've only paid up to be in here. We've actually had to pay for the room £75, and we don't charge people for coming here. But what we do say is if anyone has a passion for what we're doing, if anyone hears what we're saying and would like to support us in what we're doing, then we have a little box down here. We're not sending a hat around which makes people feel uncomfortable or anything like that, but we have a box here. We do have the room to pay for, and if it's on your heart to help us with that, then that's up to you. But if you don't have it, if you can't afford it, no problem. We're not. Yeah. Okay. So thank you everyone for your time, and if Patrick you would like to come.
Okay, can you hear me? Right, you're in charge. Tell somebody to speak.
Okay, we'll have hands up. Okay, can we go for you then? Yep.
Hello. Hi Robert, just to say thank you. It's been really, really interesting, very informative. Just to let you know that on the Saturday the 20th of September,
Bring the microphone to.
Saturday the 20th of September, we're putting on a local food market, not so much local food celebration event on Snenton Market, and it's going to feature workshops. It's all about local pesticide-free grown food. It's about supporting local artisan producers, and we'd really like it if you could come and speak at that. And if you're available, that would be really quite marvellous, because there should be quite a lot of. It's Saturday the 20th, but I will email. But it would be. I think it would be really good to hit more people with the messages. Thank you.
Thank you. If we have the question with the microphone, and then we can pick it up on the camcorder. If someone's a bit too shy to, we can talk afterwards. That's fine.
Can I just ask you, because I've read from the book about when she was diagnosed with cancer, and you said she didn't have the biopsy. So, how do you know it's pancreatic cancer?
No, I didn't have a biopsy on pancreas.
Speak up, speak up, speak up.
I didn't have a biopsy on pancreas because I was frightened that it's spreading. They scanned the liver tumour, and it was classed as a liver tumour, and it was called cancer. When I went to the doctor, he said it was cancer.
What happened was that, if I can explain this, of course, everyone's going to say, well, you didn't cross the I's and dot the T's. Did you really have cancer? Right, she lost 1.5 stone in weight. The doctor said, whether it's benign or whether it's malignant, I'm so very sorry that there's nothing we can do. Here's some temazepam because you're going to need them. When a doctor tells you that, and the actual tumour is a 2.5-inch tumour, in where it's strangulating the tubes coming out of the liver, and it's up on the actual monitor screen of the doctors, then it's serious business. The doctor said whether it's benign or whether it's malignant, I'm so very sorry. So people can take it whichever the way they want. Well, you didn't really have cancer in the first place. I think that's nonsense because of the situation we were in, whether it's benign or whether it's malignant, because of it strangulating the tubes, there was not much hope. So there's always going to be that question, but that's how it was. She'd got 3 tumours on the actual pancreas as well, because the pains that she was having, we were told by the doctors, weren't attributed to the actual one on the liver. It was most likely attributed to the actual ones on the pancreas, which were, as soon as she actually had the acidity from the foods entering her mouth, the body's getting ready to prepare all the stuff that it needs from the pancreas, the enzymes, and then she got these tremendous stabbing pains. She couldn't eat. She lost 1.5 stone in weight. So that was the likely thing according to the doctor. as to what was going on there. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, what you just said is true. It's the same thing happened to me. I lost. Yeah, the same thing happened to me when I was eating food, and I went to a guy and I told him I can't eat food. I'm violently sick, and they didn't really. Well, in the end, it was cancer. But when I think I lost about 3 stones. So, but I want to ask you a question in your mind about the biopsy, because at the moment I'm going through some similar problems, and they wanted to give me a biopsy, but I refused it because I said to my doctor, oh, but when it goes in, won't it bring some cancer out? And he said, oh no, it's all safe now. And I've been having problems with QMC about my cancer that it's come back. It was forcing me to have a chemo. The first time they forced me to have a chemo, I said, I'm not having it. Oh, what was he doing? I don't want to have it. You know, we're going to die. This time I've gone back about a couple of years ago, forced me again to have a chemo and radiate. Well, they said it's so I can only have chemo. If I don't have it, I'm going to be dead within next year. I've just gone on the same regime, the apricot kernel, the barley, the bitter sweet, the vitamin D, the zinc. I've been on it all the time, but yeah.
How are you feeling on it?
On it all right, but I've had the pulmonary tooth back, you see, so I've had some anesthetic, so that's what's messing me up at the moment. But yeah, on that system, on that regime, I was all right.
What we were told, when we discussed this with the oncologist about not wanting them to biopsy, he got quite uppity about it. And he said, well, yes, he admitted, yes, there is a risk, but it's only 2%. And if you puncture into something that has a protective membrane, a protein membrane around it, what's going to happen? I mean, what does logic tell you it's going to happen? It's going to bleed a little bit, it's going to spill out a little bit. So it's going to more likely metastasize because you've breached the protective membrane that is containing it in there. So we explained our thoughts, and he got very, very touchy about it. But even if that is true, 2% of the 400,000 people that get cancer in the UK per year, that equates to how many people? About 4,000 people. That's not a small amount of people. That's a lot of people, especially if you're one. But I don't believe those 2% figures because it doesn't make sense. It's just not logical. So that's what we answered to the guy, and he wasn't happy with that. Any questions?
I would like to suggest that if a doctor is ever touchy with you, simply say to him, I will report you to the General Medical Council, because the General Medical Council says doctors should allow patients to be involved in decisions about their care. So just say to him, if you speak like that to me again, I shall report you to the General Medical Council. That will frighten the life out of them.
Yes, I was going to ask advice on soya products. I'm a vegan, and I know as a vegan you've got to know what you're doing as well as when you're not a vegan. But I do have quite a lot of soy products, and some groups say, oh, they actually said the implemented ones are okay, but not other sorts. And that people like Viva, a vegan group, they said it's fine, there's no problem, and I'm a bit confused about it, so I thought I'd ask.
If you are vegan, you don't have any animal food at all. That means you're going to have to increase your intake of the vegetarian stuff. And there's a huge range of foods on the list which you can have. And just increase your level, that's all. That's all you've got to do.
Can I just say that 94% of the world's soya is genetically
Hang on a second.
modified?
Yeah, exactly what I was
So,
about to say.
yeah.
It's GM.
Safe or unsafe?
Sorry?
Soya products on this thing.
Soya products. Well, I'm not too sure about soya products, personally. I have a suspicion there's something wrong with them.
So just because because I think the lady there was well on board. We're getting you exercise tonight, Patrick.
Thank you. I would just like to say that 94% of the world's soya is genetically modified, so I wanted to be large bowl.
I didn't want to say that, but she's probably right.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, just on the soya thing as well, Christine. Apart from it being genetically modified, all the evidence of the historical places where soya's come from is actually a byproduct of animal feed, and it was put into the human food chain as a way of getting rid of it, as a way of the industry selling it on. And fortunately, you know, they played to the consciousness of people who didn't want to indulge anymore with, you know, eating animals, etc. And they've done a really good job of it, a successful job of it, and it's one of the biggest food industries now in the world, the soya industry. And as Betty says, I wouldn't actually touch it with a barge pole, but fermented soya is a different thing altogether. When you ferment soya, you end up with tempeh, and the process of fermentation makes the food into a different thing altogether, which is good for you, as we were being told earlier about the fermentation. So yeah, I think to look into it a bit further, that's what you'd probably find.
I would agree with all of that.
The mistletoe treatment. Yes, the mistletoe treatment requires a specialist who understands how it can be helpful. I used to send somebody who wanted to try the mistletoe treatment to specialists, because I think it is something that is very important, that a person should be a specialist in the treatment. And I did start practicing it myself, but I reckon that I could not understand it enough to justify the number of people who wanted to have it done. So I used to send it to somebody else. Yes, it could be very helpful.
You can actually get the mistletoe treatment on the NHS. I have received it.
Yes, you can get it on the NHS, but very hard.
Well, I have contact details.
You've got
I have contact details, but if
Right,
anybody
you
wants to
are-
talk to me.
somebody who can help.
This is the wonderful thing about people coming together. We can share and pool information, which is fantastic, because I don't know everything, and nobody knows everything in this stuff. So it's a case of keeping in touch, and if you haven't signed already, we've got a form here to keep in touch. So we'll put you on the email list so we can communicate information together. Yes, Kevin? Yeah?
Well, all it is, people are asking, what is the mistletoe treatment? Could somebody just explain in a couple of sentences?
Hang on a second.
It's
Is it for you, Sam?
That's all I
People are just asking, what is the
But the
mistletoe
gentleman
treatment?
behind.
Could you just explain?
What is the mistletoe treatment? Do you want to... Who's the expert? Come on, you're ready.
Not an expert, but I'm actually talking to himself. Effectively, the mistletoe treatment, you're injected with an extract from mistletoe, either intravenously or subcutaneously under the skin, or intravenously through the veins, and it stimulates the immune system to effectively help fight back against cancer. I've been treated in Aberdeen, which I'm paying private for. I understand you can't get them in the NHS.
Could you hold the mic?
I understand you can't get them in the NHS in this country. You can in Scotland, I understand, in a limited amount. Mistletoe treatment is used extensively in Europe, lots of Europe, so in Germany it's heavily used, very heavily used. I've been treated since October last year, and I think it's helped me tremendously in prostate cancer.
Do you want me to do that, Patrick? I'm giving you all the work, aren't I?
On the subject of mistletoe, my partner is in treatment for a brain tumour at UCLH in London, and part of the trust there is what used to be the Royal Homeopathic Hospital, it's now the Royal or possibly National Hospital of Integrative Medicine, and a doctor there has prescribed Lucy Iscador, which is extract of mistletoe, which she takes daily, but that's all. And I know that it's certainly in the lab, to kill cancer cells.
Did you all hear that? That if you go to the Royal Homeopathic Hospital, they will do it for you there on the NHS.
With the mistletoe, it seems to me, I don't know, but Gerson Institute do the coffee enemas, and that stimulates the liver. Right? Okay. So in similar sort of effect, would that be a similar sort of what's going on there to stimulate the liver? Would the mistletoe be stimulating the liver the same way?
No, the mistletoe is stimulating the immune system, whereas the coffee enemas are producing glutathione.
Okay.
That's quite different.
You've actually got a Gerson practitioner in the audience.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
You were just talking about the coffee enema. Yeah, that is, you were talking earlier about detoxification and how the food can help to do that. Well, when you're breaking down large tumour masses, the coffee enema helps to move all of that debris out of the system. So that's why we're using that to stimulate the liver to release all of that stuff.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Do you work in Nottingham?
Leicester.
Oh, you're not far away then. Any other questions? Well, I mean, we can break now. We can continue to have a chat. Yeah, this is a really important question, Patrick. We have a few people that we've had at the meetings. Patrick, can we ask you a question? It's a really important one that I sort of know the answer in some respects, but whether or not there's something else that you could suggest. When people have chemotherapy and when they're wasting away, they go into a thing called cachexia, where they start losing muscle mass and they can't absorb nutrients. And I'm aware of certain things like the digestive enzymes and building up your body through probiotics and taking out things to support the body. But we've had people, which has been heartbreaking, that have had cachexia. They've been just like someone out of a German prisoner of war camp. And we've not really been able to address all the things. Is there any other sort of ways that we might be able to build up the muscle mass? And what is cachexia? Is it the destruction of the villi? Is it through the chemotherapeutic treatments? Could you help us with that?
The cachexia is basically a loss of muscle tissue more than anything else caused by the chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is, to some people, incredibly toxic, really damaging. And in fact, when a person dies, having suffered from cancer, nobody actually knows why they die. Because most people say, oh, just let them go. Don't do a post-mortem. So they very rarely do a post-mortem on a person who has suffered from cancer. So they don't actually know whether it's the chemotherapy that killed the person or the cancer. And that's something I think is appalling. So cachexia is not easy to deal with, I must admit. You need certain supplements to help them, especially minerals. Minerals are things that people cannot get into their body without food. So there are certain preparations called, have anybody heard of sizzling minerals? Sizzling minerals, it's a possibility. That's a very excellent product. Yeah, well, again, put them on the sizzling minerals once a day, and that can be very, very helpful to people. And also, I think, very large doses of antioxidants, especially for vitamin C. And it's going to be a hard road back, I'm afraid.
So there's no easy answer.
Yeah, because the chemotherapy itself is extremely toxic.
Just to clarify, my son's on chemotherapy at this moment in time, so sizzling minerals are okay for someone on chemotherapy.
I didn't quite pick that up, say that again.
My son's on chemotherapy at this moment in time, so just to clarify, it's okay to give him sizzling minerals.
Oh gosh, yes. They sort of seem to think that you should not have anything supplementary when you're having chemotherapy. They've got this strange idea that if you have antioxidants, the antioxidants will stop the chemotherapy from working. It's absolute rubbish. They talk a load of rubbish. I have a diet sheet from the Leicester Royal Infirmary Hospital as to what food cancer patients should eat. And it's jelly beans, it's sugar. And I can't believe it. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Yes.
And not to eat vegetables.
Don't bulk up on vegetables and fruits. Apparently.
It's extraordinary.
I'm not making it up.
Yes, well, thank you very much for the support.
Just things like coconut oil.
Coconut oil is absolutely wonderful. It's a saturated fat, but it's absolutely brilliant. It's really brilliant. It's very good for Alzheimer's too. Anybody suffering from Alzheimer's, get the most coconut oil. Oh, yes. Nobody ever needs to suffer from any of these conditions, but you've got to take charge of your own lives. You've really got to.
Just a quick one on Candida. I'd like to know your view on Candida, because I think it's the parasite that you might be talking about but not naming. Is that true or not?
Yes, yes. Candida is basically the organism that causes thrush. That doesn't make any difference what the organism is. It's a fungus, and it just feeds on sugar all the time. So yes, you need to get rid of it. And as I say, either colloidal silver, iodine, or chlorine dioxide, and work very, very efficiently indeed. And they don't have any adverse effects if you have the right approach. No, come on.
Well, sorry, yeah. A supplement for mind fog. What would you say?
Brain fog.
Yeah.
Well, what's the cause of it? What's the cause of the brain fog?
I don't know.
You?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't answer that question without going through a history, because there's got to be a cause. It could be dairy, it could be sugar, it could be gluten, it could be a whole range of things. No, I can't answer that question. Sorry.
Was that about brain fog? Sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I used to have brain fog, and since I got rid of pretty much all of my Candida, it's gone. I believe Candida is the issue between like 99% of illnesses because of that. And if you get rid of the fungus, you get rid of the problem.
Well, you only need to have one course of antibiotics, and you've got the fungus.
Yeah.
And I'm the only person in this room who's never had a course.
Yeah, talking of Candida, I was given 3 course sections on antibiotics in a period of 2 weeks 15 years ago following a kidney infection. I started getting what I think was Candida symptoms probably after the second one, and my doctor said, you won't have give you an antibiotic. I haven't cleared it since. I think it's come back over the last few years. One of the most things I think is with the cancer health. So I've been on a diet basically with a Candida diet now for a year and a half, and symptoms have sort of come and gone, but essentially they're still there. I was just wondering if there's anything you recommend.
Do you know the organism causing the infection? Is it E. coli? We need to find out, because if it's E. coli, sodium bicarbonate will kill it off very quickly. It's easy. I've written a book called Conquering Cystitis, which, talks about this all the time. So find out the organism, and if it's an organism like E. coli, sodium bicarbonate, every hour on the hour will kill it off. Tesco. Oh, sorry, Sainsbury's.
Aluminium-free sodium bicarbonate.
Yes, okay.
My mum's really weak at the moment. She can't eat. She's been sick. How would you recommend
If somebody is ill and they can't eat, the best way, of course, is intravenous fluids. But I mean, there are not many doctors in this country who do that. I used to give intravenous infusions to everybody that came to my place, and I'm incredibly effective. but doctors say you don't need vitamins and minerals. You can get all you need from the diet. So without knowing what the cause of heart problem is, I can't answer the question because, you know, it could be cachexia, it could be she just doesn't want to eat. How old is she? 70. Well, she's still young. So send me an email and I'll try and sort that out for you.
Paul just mentioned something to me. The lady's question about how do we know it was cancer. 6 weeks into what we were doing, the 2.5-inch lump, which was no insignificant amount, you know, maybe you can misdiagnose something a little small, but 2.5-inch lump, something like that, in here was just scar tissue by the scans that we actually did. So they were quite pleased about that. Although the second oncologist, there was better vibes from, and he said, well, if you don't want us to biopsy, he said you've done very well. It's just scar tissue. You still have the other 3 on the pancreas. But if you're not having stabbing pains now, which she wasn't, and you're eating well, which she was, then come back and see us when you need us, or if things go, you know, so that's what happened. So the 2.5-inch tumour, whatever you want to call it, benign, malignant, whatever it was, the tumour that was strangulating, was just scar tissue. And now I think they'd have to be pretty stupid as oncologists and doctors to misdiagnose a 2.5-inch tumour that was strangulating the liver. That's my opinion anyway. Yeah.
If you've had your lymph nodes taken out, is there anything you should do to have the immune system anything better?
Are you talking about a person who's had breast cancer
Yeah.
and then their arm is swelling up?
The arm's not swelling up, no, but just had the lymph nodes taken away. So
Well, no, just keep exercising. That's all you need to do. So long as you have radiotherapy on it as well, and that's when it kills off all the lymph nodes there, and it starts to swell. It's horrible when it starts to swell. It becomes twice the size and very, very painful. But they stopped doing that sort of thing nowadays, I'm pleased to say. But exercise is what you have to do. That's all.
How about dry skin brushing?
Oh yes, brushing, all those things of that sort. Brushings, yes. Skin brushing. Yes.
I think what we have to do is to wind it up now, because we have hired the room until 9:30. And thank you everyone for coming. If as I say, if anyone has a heart for what we're doing, there's a little box over, there's a little red box in the corner there. You know, we'd appreciate that. We're off to the meeting up in